The GTX 1070 from Nvidia was released mid last year and is still one of the highest performing graphics cards today. Although it doesn't perform as well as a GTX 1080, a Titan Pascal, or the newly announced 1080 Ti, it does offer extremely good value for a street price of around $350 US. With 1920 CUDA cores, a base clock of 1506 MHz, a boost clock of 1683 MHz, and 8GB of GDDR5 memory clocked at 8GB per second, you're definitely getting some damn good performance. But is it enough to handle ultra-wide gaming at the resolution of 3440 by 1440? Well, we're going to put my personal rig to the test. This system features an Intel i7 7700K on an EVGA Z170 Stinger motherboard, 16GB of DDR4 RAM clocked at 2666 MHz, and of course a GTX 1070 Founders Edition. Note that this 1070 was overclocked during testing with an additional 100 MHz on the core and 300 MHz on the memory. The Founders Edition card, however, only has a single 8-pin power connector, which does restrict its potential for overclocking. So if you do pick up a 1070, I'd suggest going for an aftermarket board such as the Asus Strix or MSI gaming cards, as you may be able to squeeze a little more out of them. So how did the GTX 1070 do against the Acer X34 Predator ultra-wide monitor with a resolution of 3440 by 1440 and a max refresh rate of 100Hz? Starting off with Battlefield 1 multiplayer, and here you're looking at ultra settings consistently above that 60 FPS mark. The 21:9 support for this game is absolutely perfect. All UI elements are pushed to the edge and you gain extra field of view when compared to traditional 16:9. If you prefer playing at higher refresh rates though, then you'll need to turn down those quality settings. At high settings here, there was a slight improvement over ultra, but it's not until we drop the settings down to medium where we're hitting close to 100 FPS. This definitely delivered a much better playing experience, at least for me anyway. And I know a lot of you swear by playing everything at ultra settings and would never even go near medium. So here's a quick comparison of ultra, high, and medium quality settings. Textures are less sharp, shadows are less pronounced, but despite what is commonly believed, turning your settings down to medium will not turn the game into a potato. Overall, the GTX 1070 is delivering an average of 70 FPS at ultra settings, 74 FPS at high settings, and 92 at medium. The 1070 is definitely doable for this popular first-person shooter when it comes to ultra-wide gaming. Moving on, Far Cry Primal is another game with great ultra-wide support, and quite frankly looks absolutely amazing in 21:9. However, it did prove to be quite demanding for the GTX 1070. Ultra settings looked absolutely stunning, but at an average of 48 FPS it was quite choppy, even with G-Sync enabled. Dropping to high settings we get a nice boost up to an average of 58 FPS, and dropping to what they call normal, which I'm guessing is the equivalent to medium, we're getting above 60 FPS. An important note here is that I used the in-game benchmark tool for testing, and I found that the results were significantly higher than what I saw in-game, as you can see in the top right hand corner. Still, I found the high setting to deliver close to 60 FPS, which is the sweet spot for this style of game. The Witcher 3 also proved to be quite demanding for the GTX 1070, and here you're looking at ultra settings with hairworks disabled. And before we get into the results, let's just take a moment to appreciate how damn good this game looks in 21:9. The extra field of view definitely does wonders for such a cinematic game. At ultra, we're getting an average of 47 FPS with the bottom 1% of frames not far behind at 39. The GTX 1070 is not quite there yet, but if you don't mind sacrificing some quality settings, then turn the settings down to high, and with an average of 60 FPS, you're good to go. Medium settings will give you another 5 FPS on top of that if you don't mind sacrificing visuals a little more, and here's what the visual comparison looks like. Pay close attention to Geralt's armor, the foliage, and the shadows in the grass. Again, I found high settings to deliver the optimal balance between quality settings and frame rate. Lastly, we're going to be looking at Doom running the Vulkan Graphics API. Here we can see a similar result to Battlefield 1, but with better frame rate scaling against quality settings. At Ultra, the 1070 is pushing an average of 75 FPS, which just happens to be the max refresh rate for most ultra-wide monitors today. If you want to max out a true gaming monitor though, you'll want high or medium settings, which gives us a nice boost in frame rate over Ultra, an average of 87 FPS for high and 94 for medium. So, can the GTX 1070 deliver a decent playing experience at the ultra-wide resolution of 3440 by 1440? Yes. But for those games that are demanding, you'll want to turn the settings down just a little bit for a smoother experience. At under $400 US, the GTX 1070 provides a decent entry ticket into ultra-wide gaming, but I'd like to hear what you guys think too. Are you running a GTX 1070 in your ultra-wide setup? Maybe you're planning on getting yourself an ultra-wide monitor soon and want something with better performance. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for similar content in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.